2 years ago, when the Nikon D800 and D800E came out, people were really excited because of the incredible resolution, and the cameras were a hit. Still, there were a few little things people wished the D800 did a little better. The new D810 may be an incremental update, but it gets rid of those little things that may have kept people from the D800. Hi, I'm Larry Becker. When the D800 and D800E came out a couple years ago, that 36.3 megapixel sensor changed the way pro photographers looked at high-resolution photography. Photographers were capturing images with a full-frame DSLR that had the detail and richness that you'd expect from a medium format camera. We just had to get used to a workflow that could accommodate those larger file sizes and buffer limitations. Another thing that we had to get used to was the fact that this camera was strictly intended for pros and enthusiasts, and it lacks some of those automated features and functions that help novices along. For example, there were and are no fully automatic shooting modes. One of the visible updates to the D810 is its expanded range of ISO sensitivities, and now the native low isn't 100. It's the lowest of any Nikon DSLR today at 64. That means you'll have a greater ability to shoot wide apertures or long shutter speeds with fast lenses in daylight. Additionally, the top end of the native ISO range is now one stop higher at 12,800. And so the expanded total range goes from a low of 32 to 51,200. So the sensor's light sensitivity is improved, but that's just the beginning. It's a 36.3 megapixel full frame sensor, and this one doesn't have an optical low pass filter. While the D800E almost negated the effects of the optical low pass filter, it still had one. The D810, though, forgoes that filter entirely. Nikon has done this with other cameras in their lineup, and taking away that filter means that the sharpest, highest resolution full frame sensor in the Nikon lineup is even sharper. Adding to the sharpness formula, Nikon has adjusted the mechanics of the shutter and mirror mechanisms, further reducing vibrations that come from the inside of all DSLRs. The D810 also now has an electronic front curtain shutter. With the new X-Speed 4 image processor and larger buffer, the burst performance is better too. You can shoot 5 frames a second now at full resolution. And then, if you add the optional MB D12 battery grip and set your camera to capture DX cropped files, you can boost it up to 7 frames a second. With the standard setup and no battery grip, I was able to get 19 RAW or 41 full-size JPEGs before filling the buffer, which slows down shooting. But 41 36 megapixel shots at 5 frames a second is amazing. Besides the expanded sensitivity range I already mentioned, there's also a new highlight-weighted exposure metering mode for better management of bright areas in a mostly dim scene. This pairs well with Nikon's advanced scene recognition system for better automatic control of exposure, focus, and white balance. And speaking of white balance, this model also includes the Spot White Balance tool for simple customization of your white balance settings in the field. Carried over from its predecessor, the autofocus system of the D810 features the same multicam 3500 FX AF sensor module with 51 total points, including 15 cross-type sensors. However, the new X-Speed 4 processor and improvements to the autofocus algorithm of the D810 give it a bit faster autofocus response than the D800 and the D800E for better subject tracking in mixed lighting conditions. Additionally, much like the new D4S, the D810 also features the group area autofocus mode that combines 5 autofocus sensors together to better suit dynamic subject matter. I tested the camera with a beautiful 24-70 f2.8 zoom, and the first few times I used autofocus on any given test shot, the speed and accuracy surprised me so much it made me smile and say, "Wow," out loud. It's fast and accurate. Granted, pro sports shooters are still going to go for the fastest burst rate and most sophisticated autofocus systems available, so they're going to be shooting with a D4S or a 1DX. But the D810 will certainly be a much better sports camera than the D800 ever was. Flipping through the spec sheet or Nikon's D810 press releases, you'll notice more new features than I could ever cover here, but I want to point out some that make the D810 appeal to a broader audience than the D800. The video is much better. One of the complaints had been that moire patterns and color aliasing or jaggies were a bit of a problem with the D800 and the D800E, but they've been noticeably reduced with the D810. You can shoot 1080p 60 HD video with the D810, and Nikon has added zebra highlighting to help you avoid blowing out your video scenes. And while it's not specifically a video feature, Nikon's new flat picture control profile will allow for better post-production color grading. Another cool feature for videographers is that you can put the camera in manual mode and lock the aperture and shutter speed, and then rely on auto ISO for necessary exposure adjustments. In-camera time-lapse movies are now possible too, with exposure smoothing capabilities for better output straight from the camera. Two other new video-specific updates are the power aperture control when recording to a memory card, as well as the ability to simultaneously record to an internal memory card and uncompressed video to an external recorder. Of course, there were already quite a few great video capabilities with the D800, which continue with the D810. Things like the recording in either FX or DX formats, the mic and the headphone jacks, the stepless aperture option for smooth exposure adjustment during filming, and the fact that you can adjust all of your exposure and audio settings during filming if you want. Another improvement to help you manage the file size is the addition of the optional smaller 12-bit uncompressed RAW size S files. And there are a couple of options for compressing your RAW image files, either lossy or lossless. The grip has changed slightly, but you probably won't be able to tell without the two cameras being side by side. However, there's an ergonomic change that you can see right away, and that's the addition of that I button, like with other new Nikon bodies, which gives you quicker access to on-screen settings. That 3.2-inch LCD screen is an improvement too. It's an OLED that uses the brighter RGBW technology, and I like how you can even color balance it to match your monitor if you want. Nikon also offers help to the most discriminating architectural photographers with their new split-screen zoom display. It lets you zoom in on two specific areas of the frame, which you choose, so that you can confirm perfect lines of perspective. Nikon mentions that the optical viewfinder was improved, and that made me wish I could have gotten my hands on a D800 for a side-by-side comparison, but since I couldn't, I just paid close attention to my experience with this viewfinder. I even tried to get the sun in the frame of some of my shots to see if there was any glare in the viewfinder or maybe washed out areas, and there weren't any at all. Of course, this isn't something that you can see in a video review like this, but trust me, the view was always gorgeous, just like the final images I got from this camera. Like I said in the beginning, the D800 and D800E were great cameras and very well received. And while I've touched on most things throughout this review which were a part of that D800, if this family of high-resolution DSLRs is totally new to you, let me mention just a few more D810 features that were also why people love the D800 and D800E. That way you don't have to go back and look through YouTube to find my original D800 review. There are programmable shooting banks so that you can set up the camera however you like it and then save the settings into a memory bank for quick recall. The D800 and D810 are definitely pro rigs, but unlike some of the other high-end options, they have a pop-up flash, and that flash can be set to commander mode to control remote flashes as well. There are two memory card slots, and one is a compact flash while the other is SD. And Nikon is really good about how they let you program the memory card functions. You decide which is the primary card slot, and then you can decide if the second slot will be for overflow, simultaneous backup, or even RAW to one card and JPEG to the other. So, everything that I liked about the D800 is just as good or better with the D810. And some of those little concerns like burst rate, buffer size, or managing large files are a thing of the past. If you were on the fence about the D800, then I bet the D810 is going to win you over. For B&H and Kelby One, I'm Larry Becker. Thanks for watching.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.
Scott Kelby here, and welcome to this quick tour of our online training. We have hundreds of online classes for you, covering everything from lighting to landscape photography. From portrait photography to sports, we have classes on wedding, automotive photography, shooting, food, fashion, travel, you name it. The most incredible part of this is the price. You get all of this for just $199 a year, or you can pay monthly for just $24.95. 24-hour a day, 7-day a week access from anywhere in the world. I invite you to join with us today and start learning right now.